They do incredible amount of work to try to continue to raise money to be able to provide for our fraternity not only across our state, but across our nation, for our brothers and sisters who are out there that may be in need. Now, in order to do that, we must have the abilities to be able to support that. And it comes from our membership. So whether it's $1 or $5 or $10 or $100, whatever you can give, it will go a long way. Now, each of us in this room has a story at one time or another that you may have been involved in that has motivated you or moved you in a special way. And I'm just like you. I have a story that, and I'm going to give you, forgive me if I lose my emotions because it happened a long time ago, but every time I talk about it, it still brings my emotions to a certain end. And so I'm giving you a disclaimer right now if I kind of lose my emotions. So, but this story happened a long time ago when I was just in the craft. I heard this story, and it's still true today as it was back then. And it's a story of giving. There was this one young brother who happened to be the senior warden of his lodge. He was 25 years old. He was married, had a couple of kids. And as we all know, as most 25-year-olds, we go from month to month. And he was no different than anybody else. He was an active member in his lodge. And back then, before cell phones, before beepers, when the neighbors knew where you worked and one thing or another, this young man got a call from work from one of his neighbors saying his house was on fire. So he jumped in his car and he goes racing home, gets around the corner, there's the fire trucks, everything's going. He finds his wife and his 2 kids, and they're safe. He gets them off to his in-laws, and he's standing on the sidewalk watching the house go up in flames and realized the only thing he had was what he was wearing. It was a total loss. And that poor young man, as the story was told to me, he felt like a failure. Because at that time, he could not provide for his family. He had no shelter for his children. He had no toys or clothes for his kids. And he was probably at the lowest point that anybody can imagine you would be at that point in your life. Now, yes, he had insurance, and obviously, but at that particular moment, he had nothing. And he's standing there feeling kind of sorry for himself. And he looked down to his left, and here comes the senior deacon of his lodge, running down the street. And that senior deacon said 2 words to him. How can I help you? What do you need? Not, oh, man, you're having a bad day. Oh, this stinks. How can I help you? What do you need? And like I said, that was before cell phones. So he says, well, he was supposed to attend a dinner with the worship master. Could you call him and let him know that he couldn't make it? So that senior deacon went home and got on the phone tree and called everybody. And about 20 minutes later, here come the master of the lodge down the street. Same thing. How can I help you? What do you need? And he says, well, I already contacted the insurance company. They're starting to work and whatever, and we're going to get the process going. And they were still fighting the fire at the house at this time. So they get it all out, and that master goes to that dinner. And he tells the dinner, all the brethren at that dinner, that his senior warden just had a fire. Well, they passed the hat. They collected $500 for that young man. Now, at that time, $500 was a week's wages. So you can imagine how quickly he got uplifted. Well, then the word just went out. And this young man, he got a Hiram Lodge, which is in Flat Rock. They have a monthly spaghetti dinner. All the money they raised that month, they gave to this young man and his family. Wolverine Lodge, the master at that time, his name was Albert Taylor. Albert Taylor shows up to this young man's parents' house because he knew the family. Well, the whole station wagon full of food, clothes for the kids, toys, because his lodge knew he was in trouble. He was getting donations from lodges he had never been in, $50, $20. This guy was a big guy. This guy was probably about 400 pounds at that time. And the master of Sunlight Lodge, whose name was Rex Rowland, was a big guy also, brought him a bag of clothes. A bag of clothes. because he had nothing. He literally had what he wore that day to work. Uplifting. This is what brothers do. There was another dinner, and they passed the bucket again. And raised a couple hundred more for him. And it goes on and on and on. Well, over about a 6-week period, they were able to give that young man about $3,500 with everything they raised, which got him up to a good place, got everything that he needed to get himself standard. The insurance company kicked in, they rebuilt the house, and he moved on. So he's at another dinner, and they passed the bucket just one last time. And he's standing next to worship brother Fred Miller, and Brother Fred gave this young man the best advice in the world. He looked at Brother Fred, he says, "Brother Fred, I got to find a way to pay these brothers back." And Brother Fred looked at him and says, "Don't you pay them back. You just help the next brother in need." Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I was that 25-year-old brother. And this fraternity gave to me at my lowest point. And it doesn't matter what I do from here to now to then, I'll never give back what they gave me during that time. And this brother right here was that senior deacon that was there at my lowest point. And I love you, man.
Love you too, man.
He just told me we're family. Yes, we are, one and all. So, whatever you can give, please, because it's going to make a difference in the lives of others. And we can uplift and make our fraternity as great as it's ever been through the kindness of your hearts. Please drive safe. God bless you all. And thank you for your fraternity, for what you do, what you've been doing, and what you continue to do. Thank you very much.